It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and young guns Billy Derrick and Michael Cindric. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on what was 20 minutes ago a rainy Wednesday, but suddenly that stuff appears to have gotten out of here, and all of a sudden the sun's starting to peek in on January the 25th. Welcome in. We got a good show for you. We're headed in about 20 minutes out to San Francisco, not only to find out about the 49ers, but to talk about the Titans' new general manager, Ran Carthon. And that'll be interesting. I think you'll enjoy what Marc Adams will bring to the table when he joins us. Then during the 3 o'clock hour, we'll get into these Predators. They had a big win last night against a really good Winnipeg team. And there was a lot going on in the city last night. We'll get into Kentucky's pretty convincing win over Vanderbilt. Billy Derrick was there, and he'll talk with us about what he saw. But first, let's head up to the plateau and say hello to Coach Watson Brown. Watson, how are you?
George, I'm doing great. The sun's not out up here yet, so it's a little bit like Memphis to Nashville for you. It's kind of Nashville to Cookville for me. So I know what's coming by what the weatherman tells me. So we'll get a little sunlight maybe in about an hour and a half or so.
I predict by the end of the show you'll have sunshine.
Okay. Weatherman, I appreciate that.
Billy, how are you today?
George, I'm good. Watson, have you played much golf? Have you been able to play much golf here lately, or no? Too chilly?
No, I'm not a tough nut on the golf course now. It's
what's
I'm a fair weather golfer.
What's the line of degrees? If it's 55, you going out 60?
If it's above 50 and the sun's out and the wind's not blowing real hard, there's criteria there involved in that. So.
A freshening zephyr makes this really, since Michael threw out a big word earlier today, untenable.
Okay, good.
Yeah, good. Untenable.
We need somebody to throw out a few big words or two.
Yeah, I'll give you another one here in a couple of minutes. Michael, you earlier today appeared to have an issue where you stumbled around a bunch of equipment and then you threw out the word labyrinth.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It wasn't my brightest moment, but being back in this corner, there are some challenges and difficulties if you want to get out.
Right. What is the dictionary definition of labyrinth?
Yeah, let me pull that up.
Yeah, this will be big.
Okay. A complicated, irregular network of passages or paths, and when it is difficult to find one's way. That's my situation back here in the timeout.
Okay,
corner.
I'll add to it a little bit.
Yeah.
The next time you have problems with the labyrinth and the equipment goes haywire, we would ask you to pick up all of that equipment with alacrity.
Alacrity?
Man,
alacrity.
Watson, can you define that one for me? I'm going to guess.
No, and neither can he. He had to have looked it up.
You know where I got that? Al Michaels used to use that a lot.
Okay.
And I didn't know what the hell it was.
Alacrity.
So alacrity is sort of move with quickness. Urgency, quickness.
Yeah. It's like how you want your players taking the field with some alacrity.
I don't think that's what a football coach would use to his players.
I'm not sure I've ever used that one with a team.
Get a lot of raises.
Probably most of my players on the team wouldn't know what the word meant anyway.
Well, so Coach Poteet would have said, boys, get out here quick.
Michael always recruited guys I knew that could relate to me, so that lowered the standard of what I had to do with them.
Yep.
And the way I could communicate with them. Some people have said that's why Vanderbilt and Rice was hard for me.
Wow.
I never said that.
I was about to say, was George one of those people watching?
No, I
never
just
said
beat
that.
him to it because I opened that door and he would have jumped in it if I hadn't.
I'm glad you
beat him
closed it
to
up.
First of all, when he was here, I was very supportive of him.
I can't argue with that one.
Watching the old.
It got us both fired,
That probably finished us both off. It's
as I remember.
yeah, well.
So where were you going, Michael? Labyrinth.
Oh no, I was going back to old coach talk. Watching the words we use basically play hard and run fast. You know,
Yeah, they
one
could relate to
syllable
that.
words.
Well, and don't forget Oski.
Yeah, that's right.
Bingo.
Bingo.
Bingo and Oski are the two that's always been used. You just pick one of the two.
Here's another one. Plus territory.
Red zone.
When I hear an announcer tell me that they're in plus territory, I'm like, whatever.
Establish the run.
Well, the worst now are when the announcers will throw out the word RPO and it's not an RPO at all. But that's a conversation for a different day. But it's just
Little pet peeve.
That's a little pet peeve.
Little pet peeve. Okay. Billy, do you have an update?
I do, George. We
Thank
talked about Vanderbilt, and they got whipped last night.
Yeah.
By Kentucky. Oscar Shibwe, 15 points and 13 rebounds, not the 36 and 24 that we talked about, but I mean, they were lobbing it into him, and Vandy had 3 or 4 guys wrapped around him, and he was still getting to the basket. That's 4 straight wins for Kentucky and 14 straight over Vandy. So
yes,
that kind of tells you how it's going.
Yeah.
So
in other words, the Jerry Stackhouse era is O for the Commonwealth and O for Rocky Top.
Yep. They got Tennessee February 8th. So we'll see if they can change that. But at least one team was able to win last night, George. The Preds had a huge win over Winnipeg last night, 2-1. Tight game over the second place Jets. Cody Glass and Tanner Janot both scored. The Preds have won 4 of their last 5 and their last 4 at home.
Yeah, this is, first of all, this is needed, as we'll find out when Marc McGee joins us. They've got a big one Thursday night before the All-Star break against New Jersey. They've got to pick it up some. They are right now in the 10 hole, and we'll show you a graphic to that effect later on in the show.
Looking forward to that. Gee will be fired up after a win. I feel like we have him on after losses every day. But George, Danny White has gotten an extension from Tennessee. We talked about Josh Heupel's extension yesterday. Donnie Plowman said White agreed to an extension that starts at $2.2 million a year with an annual pay increase of 5% up from his original $1.8 million salary.
Watson, this seems like a good time to hit up Tennessee for a loan. Looks like the money's coming out right now.
There's some money floating around, isn't there?
Yeah.
You know, I thought about it, George. I was at 2 of my 6 schools where I was head coach. I was the AD also. And I got to thinking about it. That really wasn't a good move on my part. You can't give yourself a raise.
Why not?
Well, you just can't do that. They just won't let you do that. I mean, you can't just all of a sudden, so I'm going to give my football coach a $4 million raise. I don't think that would have gone over well. If I'd have tried
You know,
that.
it's funny you bring that up because when Dave Luce was both the coach at Austin Peay in basketball and the athletic director, I asked him one day on the air, I said, did the AD ever consider firing the coach? And he said, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
AD's wife.
Right. So anyway, good for Danny White that he got money.
Absolutely. Deserves it. Deserves it.
Yeah, he's made some good hires.
Yeah.
What they got going on up there, I don't know that it's ever been
Pretty good.
at this level. So he definitely deserves it. George, some baseball news that came in yesterday. Scott Rolen makes the Hall of Fame. He had a 17-season career playing with Philly, St. Louis, Toronto, and Cincinnati. He was named on 76% of the ballots, and it was his 6th year on the ballot. So he's kind of been waiting on this, but it's been debated. Scott Rolen, but he's in.
So 2 things come out of this. First of all, Scott Rolen could flat out pick it at third. He really was good defensively. And Watson, I think off what went on yesterday, although it's been a long time coming, Andrew Jones is going to be a Hall of Famer.
He's close. He's getting there.
Yeah.
How long
As
do
I
you get
told-
before you fall off the ballot that you can be on the ballot? Is it a
I
number of
think
years?
it's now 10 years.
Is it 10 years? Yeah.
And there's also a percentage. Scott Rolen, for instance, in his first year, had to get 5% of the vote, or he would have been thrown off right then and there. But first of all, I think he's deserving. I know Andrew Jones is. Andrew Jones had no peers defensively. That guy was the best center fielder baseball saw since Willie Mays. And, you know, his career had some bumps at the end where, you know, he bounced around and he wasn't very good offensively. But if there were a hall for defense only, Andrew Jones and Scott Rolen, first ballot Hall of Famers.
I don't disagree with that. Do you think sometimes these guys, when they stay too long, end up hurting themselves for the Hall of Fame? I wonder about that sometimes, that they hang too long. Sometimes this designated hitter gets people to hang longer than probably they should, and then it ends up hurting them a little bit because their stats go down.
Dale Murphy was one whose career ended early, and obviously I want to see him get in. Truthfully, I don't think it's ever going to happen unless the Veterans Committee puts him in. He's a two-time, he's a back-to-back National League Most Valuable Player. I think I'm right about that. 82 and 83, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know, it's a tough deal. I mean, it's a hall for the great, not the hall for the really good. And to me, distinguishing between the two is really tough sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Makes for good sports talk.
Sure does.
We'll be doing a little bit more of that in some of the dog days. But George, last piece here, Carolina coaching search is down to 3 names. Steve Wilkes, who's the interim right now, Frank Reich, and Kellen Moore, the Cowboys offensive coordinator.
You know, if you had put that in a different order, I don't know, can they see what you put up there?
No, they can't.
Okay, if you had put Frank Reich third, that would have made him what?
What do you ask?
The Third Reich.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Watson saw it from a mile away.
Oh, I know he did.
Watson saw
I
it from a
started
mile
shaking
away.
my head before it even came because I
I know
knew it
you
was
did.
coming. I said, he's not going to say that, is he?
But he did. He
So,
did.
so who do y'all
He didn't
like
let me
out of those
down.
three? Who do you think's the best fit out of those 3?
I think Steve Wilkes is going to get the job.
Do you?
Because he's been there.
Yeah, first of all, if you're Carolina, are you overly blown? Now, I'm sure Kellen Moore did a good job in his interview. Most of these guys are pretty well spoken, but the performance this year in Dallas, I just look, I think they could have done more. And Watson in particular, you may disagree with this. To me, Dallas is really mechanical on offense. A little bit like the Titans.
I don't know what to say about them other than it's inconsistent.
Yeah.
That's what I see. What I don't like about them is not what they do; it's the consistency of what they do. George, they can go out and light it up a game. I mean, just completely embarrass somebody, and then come back the next week and pull a Commanders deal that they pulled. That's what gets me. I don't understand that. Does that come from the top? Is that? And most of the time, it's on the offensive side of the ball it happens on.
Yeah,
It's not.
that's right.
The defensive side is a lot more consistent than the offensive side. So that throws it back to me on Kellen Moore a little bit. Or is Mike McCarthy really running the show and telling Kellen where to go and philosophically what to do? I don't know. Yeah. My thought is just total inconsistency, and you're just not going to win championships with that. And the Cowboys are amazing. We're all over them. They won 12 games. They're 12-4. They had a really good year, one of the best years in the NFL, got one of the best records in the NFL, George, and yet they just can't close a deal. They just flat can't close a deal. I go back to Tony Romo on that, was it an extra point or a field goal when he drops the snap. And from that point on, it seems like that's been Dallas. They just find a way to kind of mess it up. And I don't know. It's frustrating. I feel for Michael. I'm not a Cowboys fan, but if I was a Cowboys fan like Michael, it'd drive me nuts, man. I'm telling you.
Sickening.
You're ready to pat your chest, and all of a sudden the bullet hits you right in the heart. You know,
and it's not the problem is too, Watson, is it's not like being a Vanderbilt fan where sometimes you just don't feel like they care. That's not it, or that they've been bad. It's when you see the potential of how good the Cowboys could be, and that's the worst part. I mean, it is it's an emotional roller coaster. But I agree with you, Watson. I mean, Kellen Moore, to his credit, the offensive numbers the last several years, statistically in rankings with the NFL, have been higher. I mean, they've been pretty high, but there is a level of inconsistency with Dallas. And who do you blame that on? Sometimes it seems like, it's Kellen Moore. Sometimes it's Dak. And then, also how much of the head coach has to take some responsibility for that. So it's hard to pin it on one guy. It's probably a mixture of a lot of things.
Okay, after the break, we're going out to the Bay Area. Marc Adams is going to join us. I can see him right now. I can't wait to get him to describe Dallas's final offensive play.
Oh, God.
That really worked well. I mean, they went to kindergarten for that one.
Mark, you can rub it in on me too.
I think he can hear all that.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, he will join us next, not only to talk about the 49ers, but we'll get into Ran Carthon as well and what he knows about him. Stick around. Stay tuned. We're coming back.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is simple. I chose Hermitage Strike and Spare. They were amazing. Great food, great bowling, and a staff that's ready to go the extra mile. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5665.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
We're back, and the show will begin out in the Bay Area. Beautiful area. Marc Adams covers the San Francisco 49ers for 49erswebzone.com. Mark, there are so many places we could start, but first of all, thank you for doing this.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So let's go with the Ran Carthon stuff. Having now watched the press conference in its entirety, he handled himself beautifully, and I get the feeling that you would have known that beforehand.
Yeah, for sure. The 49ers were really big on Rand Carthon. In fact, there was just a few weeks ago, there were rumors that Adam Peters, the assistant GM, was going to go interview for a general manager spot. He declined, decided to stay in the Bay Area. But I really believe that if he would have got that opportunity, if he would have left San Francisco, then I really think that that Rand Carthon would have been the guy. I think that they would have promoted him to assistant GM, and who knows what happens when John Lynch leaves. John Lynch may not be around much longer because I think he's being lured back to TV, and so who knows what's going to happen at that point.
So it's really easy when a new guy comes in to start making up rumors. And the one here in Nashville that keeps coming up is, hey, is he a big Trey Lance guy? Lance looks like kind of an odd man out as Purdy, continues to just amaze everybody. Is that a rumor that is realistic, that might have some legs, or is it poppycock?
You never know, especially with the 49ers quarterback situation. It's always in flux. I mean, we went from thinking Trey's the guy to, oh no, now he's hurt. Good thing they brought back Jimmy Garoppolo, to, oh no, he's hurt, we're dead, to now watching Brock Purdy. I actually heard, now I don't know if this is true or not, but I have heard that because we know that someone in a position like Rand Carthon was in here in San Francisco, that in his capacity, there's a lot of work in the lower rounds. And I could list off names from George Kittle to Elijah Mitchell to Talanoa Hufanga that Carthon is partly responsible for getting here. But one of the things that I heard was that he was instrumental in saying, hey, we need to take a look at Brock Purdy.
Interesting, because man, has that one paid off in spades.
Yeah,
So,
nobody else was interested in him, but they took a gamble, and so far it's paid off. Who knows what'll happen next year?
you think? So let me try this one. At Rand Carthon's press conference here, he made it very clear that, he wants to do what Mike Vrabel wants to do. Is that really his preferred kind of offense, preferred kind of playing football? Or if it was him and a brand new coach, what is it he'd really want to do?
I think that if he's anything like John Lynch, if he's anything like Adam Peters, then he's going to want to build from the inside out. He's going to want a strong offensive line. He's going to want a strong defensive line. And that's just the way that the 49ers have built things. And I believe that Rand Carthon is a big part of what they've built in Santa Clara. And so if that's the case, then I think that probably that Vrabel kind of smash mouth style would fit what Carthon is wanting. You have to remember his dad was a running back for the New York Giants back in the early 90s. I think won at least one Super Bowl with them, and that was a smash mouth team. And so that's not to say that Rand is going to be the same way, but that's how I would see him being. And really that's how Kyle Shanahan has been until I'd say the last 6-7 weeks. He's thrown the ball a lot more.
I want to ask one Purdy question, and then I'll turn it over to Watson Brown, who you see in the picture in the middle. When did all of you start to sort of get a sense of, this is no seventh rounder. This guy's got some stuff to him. Was it in a game? Had you already seen it in practice or preseason? When did it hit all of you?
I was pretty impressed with him in the preseason. From things that I heard during training camp were things like, hey, this kid just handles himself differently. He's really accurate. He's not afraid to take over the huddle. There's a radio legend out here named Larry Krueger, and I heard Larry really pushing him and saying, I think this kid could be the guy. And, you're thinking, come on, he's the last player drafted. And so then I just kept hearing that. I liked what I saw in the preseason, but really when he took over, I did not expect anything great. And so every game, I was pretty skeptical of what we were going to see next. Can he handle? Yeah, so he handled himself in Miami. So how about when they play the Buccaneers and the Bucs have had a week to prepare for him, but then he handled that. Okay, so how's he going to handle going to Seattle? Well, he handled that. How's he going to handle his first postseason game? He handled that. So he's passed every test so far. So I'm still, I don't want to call myself skeptical, but I think that this coming game in Philadelphia is going to be his biggest test. It's the best defense he's played. It's the biggest stage. This is going to be his biggest test. And if he can pass this, then I'm probably going to be all in. I really like what I've seen, but I haven't yet bought in like a lot of 49er fans have.
Marc Adams writes for 49erwebzone.com. Watson, what do you got for him?
Mark, what I'm kind of waiting to see is I don't think Purdy has been put in that spot where it's just all out pass yet. And he every week, home or away, they've been able to stay in that run pass mode. Very careful on thirds and longs and punt the ball. And if this Eagle team can get them out of that run pass mode, and it's going to have to be more pass, that's the test I'm waiting to see him pass. And because I think this defense is the best defense they've played. And they are also capable of stopping the run now that they're healthy again. So that's the question mark I got, because I just think he's been protected. He's protected in a quarterback-friendly offense, and I'm in his corner. I'm not getting on him. I'm just saying I think he's been protected a little bit in the style that they play and with the good players around him. But when that quarterback's got to come through in the NFL is when it comes to, okay, we got to pass the ball. We got to pass the ball, and we got to pass it a lot here. That's the one I'm wanting to see how he handles.
Yeah, I agree. And it is the players around him. It's the scheme. I mean, nobody schemes open receivers like Kyle Shanahan. And so Purdy, for the most part, has been throwing to wide open receivers. Now, there have been a lot of times that he's really fit the ball into some tight spaces. Yes. But for the most part, he has guys open. But I agree. I think that when he has to pass, when the game's on the line and they know you're not going to run the ball and you have to move it down the field against a really good defense, that's when we're going to see what he's really made of. He's passed every test so far, so I can only hope that he can pass the next one.
Let's say he gets them to a Super Bowl, Mark. What in the world are you hearing that they will do? I mean, they've got a very high drafted quarterback sitting there that's been injured. They've got a productive quarterback that's been in the league a while now in Garoppolo. And then Purdy, what if he gets them to the Super Bowl? Are they going to try to get some personnel in and trade the high draft quarterback and keep Garoppolo? Tell me what you think and what you're hearing right now.
Well, let's talk about Jimmy Garoppolo first. I don't believe that they will bring him back. I think that he's a free agent and they can't franchise him. So he's going to be a free agent. He's going to be playing for somebody else. I'm pretty confident of that. Whether or not they will trade Trey Lance, I really doubt it, because one of the things that we've seen is that Kyle Shanahan's quarterbacks get hurt a lot. And so would you want, if you went into next season with Brock Purdy as your quarterback, wouldn't it make sense to have somebody like Trey Lance be there? The other thing is that Trey Lance has incredible skills. Now, who knows if that's ever going to come to fruition, but we know that his ability, his physical ability is dynamic. And so I think it's way too soon to give up on him. I think that there should be a competition. Now, if Brock Purdy gets the team to the Super Bowl, much less wins it, then he's probably going to start the season as the starter. But I would like to see a competition. I think that Brock Purdy would probably win that competition right now, but down the road, I think, let's say in 3 years, it's very possible that Trey Lance is going to be head and shoulders above Brock Purdy, where he's at right now.
Mark, it's been amazing that Coach Shanahan has been able to keep it going. But my gracious, have they hurt quarterbacks? What in the world? I don't see. I'm a 46 years of coaching football. So, I mean, I can sit and look at different things, and I don't see anything they're doing that's different to create injury to their quarterbacks. Is it just flat luck of the draw? I mean, he has been devastated with quarterback injuries.
Yeah, I think it's just bad luck. I mean, you take Jimmy Garoppolo. He had his first injury in 2018 trying to get extra yardage against the Chiefs and blew out his knee, tore his ACL. He, in 2020, dealt with high ankle sprains. Last year, there were issues, in the playoffs. Well, he went into the playoffs last year with a broken thumb, I believe. Yep. And in the wild card game against the Cowboys, that's when he got his shoulder messed up. And so I think that it's just bad luck. With Trey Lance, it's been hitting his thumb on a helmet or messing up his knee last season to this year breaking his ankle on a designed run up the middle. And so, there are players like Lamar Jackson who can get away with that. You would think that Trey Lance, who's bigger than Lamar Jackson, would be able to handle as well, but he's just had some freaky things happen. So I think it's mostly been bad luck.
Yeah. One last thing, and I'll throw you back to the guys. The difference in your defense, or the 49ers defense, that I see, that I think from Lynch through Shanahan, everybody, the speed of that defense is unbelievable. And where, Mark, it is really fast, and I've not understood why more teams don't do this. It is really fast up the middle. A lot of the NFL defenses are not fast up the middle. They've got bigger safeties. They're playing with run-type linebackers. That is not the case with these guys. The middle of this defense is, in my opinion, the fastest in the league. When Warner took off, they're playing Tampa 2 against the Cowboys the other day, and C.D. Lamb is the guy running up the middle. It's the vulnerable spot of Tampa 2 because your inside linebacker has to run down the middle of the field with any vertical that comes his way. Mark, he's faking a blitz. He's faking a blitz, and he comes out of the blitz, and here comes C.D. Lamb, and he runs foot to foot with him. It was not a great throw, but he's right with C.D. Lamb the whole way. I don't know that there's another linebacker in the league that could have done what Warner did. The middle of this defense is the fastest I've seen, and I think it's been designed that way, and I think a lot more people in the NFL are going to copy this because of the style of offenses we're starting to see now.
Yeah, you make a good point. It is kind of strange that the way offenses have evolved into more spread out, more, using multiple receiver for setups where you've got 3, maybe even 4 receivers, and a lot of the defenses are still playing as if it's just going to be running backs running right up the middle. And so, yeah, Fred Warner's fast. Dre Greenlaw, who you guys probably know in the SEC because he played at Arkansas, he's fast and he's ferocious. And then you look at the safety position with Talanoa Hufanga, who sometimes gets his eyes in the backfield a little too much and can give up a big play. But, man, that dude makes big-time plays all over the field. So, yeah, a lot of speed there.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see it copied. The other thing, Mark, that happens is all these formations and movements these offenses are doing, and you're in some form of man coverage or even zone, you get caught on a really good receiver on an inside linebacker. And that's what they're trying to do. And where San Francisco's so smart, those guys run so well, it's not the mismatch that it might be with some of these other teams. I've really picked up on that. And I just think we're going to see it copied in the league, and people are going to be drafting faster linebackers and not the bigger run linebackers like in the old days, I think.
Yeah. I think you're right. The days of drafting Mike Singletary and Gary Plummer and guys like that, probably are a thing of the past. It's going to be more guys like Fred Warner who can really move.
Mark, got a couple questions for you. I'm a big Cowboys fan, unfortunately, and you guys, you all wore us out a little bit, but it was just amazing to get to watch that game and just to see you guys are loaded everywhere. You look at every position group, and it's not like, it's star players from Warner to Deebo Samuel to Christian McCaffrey to George Kittle. I mean, I could just, you've already named, you could just keep going and going and going. Talk to me a little bit just about John Lynch and the way that he has shaped and crafted this roster, because it is impressive. You look for a weakness, and there's just not a lot of them.
Yeah, he's done a great job. And, he came into the job with no experience doing this. Obviously, he was a Hall of Fame safety and a TV guy, but no experience in a front office. But he brought a guy named Adam Peters from the Broncos, actually stole him from John Elway, his buddy. And everybody in Santa Clara talks about Adam Peters like he's the real star. And so that's why when a few weeks ago we thought that Adam Peters was going to leave and that we might also lose Rand Carthon, it was a little stressful because we don't want to lose those guys. At least leave us one, but definitely Adam Peters I think is critical there. But yeah, they've built a great roster, and the thing that we've learned is that the relationship between the general manager and the head coach is huge. When Jim Harbaugh was here, he unfortunately had Trent Baalke as his GM. They didn't get along. Baalke had different philosophies, and they butted heads. Now, Baalke did a decent job in those first couple of years, giving Harbaugh some great players. But most of Harbaugh's team was built by Scott McCloughan. And so, for us, we saw what happened when the 49ers decided to keep Trent Baalke and get rid of Jim Harbaugh, and that was a horrible mistake. But right now, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are in lockstep. I mean, they're on the same page, and John's philosophy is, I'm going to get who fits Kyle and who fits D'Amico and whatever it is the coaches are trying to build. And so that's huge. I think that's really important.
Yeah. Last question for you. This game next week with Philadelphia, obviously upset that you guys beat us, but man, I'm cheering hard for you guys against the Eagles. But it seems like watching ESPN, watching the sports media, I've gotten the impression that it seems like the Eagles almost are some shoe-in for the Super Bowl. I don't know if you've seen that as well. I mean, it's a 2.5 point line. You guys, San Fran's been legit all year. Just preview a little bit this game, some keys to the game that San Francisco's got to do really well. I think the Eagles are going to pose a bigger threat than maybe Dallas did. But I don't see this being some Eagles walk away. I could be wrong, but just talk to me a little bit about your expectations for the game, if you've seen that a little bit, and what San Fran needs to do well.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that, and so has our entire fan base. We're very cognizant to the fact that, especially the types like ESPN, all they want to talk about is that this game's not going to be close. And so we know that the 49ers can play with anybody. Now, are they going to win? Who knows? We'll see. But I think that some keys that the 49ers have to do, first, they can't turn the ball over. If you turn the ball over in Philly with that crazy crowd that's probably throwing snowballs, wrapped around batteries or whatever it is they do, that crowd is nuts. And so you don't want to fall behind to that crowd and to that team that is exceptional. So don't turn the ball over. I think they need to run the ball. And Philadelphia can be run on. They're what they sacked the quarterback 70 times this year, which is an incredible amount. But they have shown that they can be run on, and so that needs to happen. I think that I think that they're going to have to figure out a way to stop Jalen Hurts from hurting them on the ground. He's going to get what he's going to get in the air, but they can't be giving up huge third down conversions all up and down the field. 3rd and 10, and then Hurts runs for 15, or whatever. They can't do that. And so I think that those three things are really key, that they have to be able to control that.
Mark, whatever you do when you get there, don't go up to the 700 section. You may not come back alive.
Well, I'm a huge Houston Astros fan, lifetime fan of the Astros, and so, the big people in the media were saying that the Astros couldn't go into Philly and win, and they did. So I'm thinking the same thing here. The 49ers can go into Philly and they can win this, but I'm not actually going to be at the game. Wish that I would be, but I'm not going to be there. So I should be safely snuggled into my couch.
Okay, I like it. And as an Astros fan, where's Mike Scott when you need him?
Yeah. Boy, he was a great one.
Oh,
I love that guy.
Yes. Listen, thank you for doing this. Great info.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Mark.
Marc Adams covers the San Francisco 49ers for 49erswebzone.com. After the break, Billy Derrick was at Memorial Gym last night to watch Kentucky put it on Vandy in double-digit fashion. We'll talk to him about that win for the Cats when we come back. I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com. Attention Vanderbilt fans, the Nashville Predators are continuing their College Night series, and Vanderbilt Night is Thursday, January the 26th. Students, alumni, and fans are invited to celebrate. College Night series ticket packages include a Predators game ticket and a limited edition co-branded hat. Tickets can be purchased at NashvillePredators.com/College Nights. Anchor down. Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look. Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East, and their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait. Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100. So Kentucky came in last night and looked as good as I have seen them look in a while. I thought they had great offensive flow, in particular in the second half, en route to a 16-point win over Vandy. Billy Derrick was at Memorial Gym last night. Billy, give me some thoughts on what you saw.
Well, George, it started pretty well for Vandy. They were in it. It was back and forth. It looked like it might be a shootout. It was back and forth action, but I think Kentucky really just kind of put their foot on the gas, and they said, we're going to beat you up inside. They were lobbing it down to Sheboy. And like I said earlier, there were some plays where 3 or 4 guys were jumping all over him, wrapped around him, and Sheboy would still find a way to get the bucket. But I told you before the show today, George, Kentucky played like a top 5 team. Sheboy made a few jump shots from the free throw arc. They were shooting the ball well. CJ Frederick, the guy that's kind of their X factor, was making shots. Of course, they fed off.
Which he has not been doing a lot of, and he's gotten the fan base kind of down on him.
Yeah, and they feed off. Anytime they're in Nashville, they enjoy playing there because they feed off that crowd. I think they fed off of it last night. And, that's their potential, George. They can be – they were a preseason top 25 team. They're starting to get there now. And on the Vandy side, George, they just – when they play like that, when they don't shoot well like that, they're not going to beat many people. Miles Studi and Jordan Wright, they're 2 better players, at least that are healthy right now, did nothing. They didn't even really play in the second half.
Yeah.
Stackhouse said, they wanted to get in some of the younger guys. So, that's what can happen when Vandy doesn't shoot the ball well, and that's what can happen when Kentucky does, and they're playing at their best. I said in the update, George, that they sort of swallowed them up a little bit defensively. Their 3-point defense was phenomenal. So that's Kentucky's potential right there.
Talent's not an issue when you watch Kentucky. They've got length and athleticism. When they're playing, George, you talked about that offensive rhythm. They look really good. Their talent is no issue when you look at Kentucky. And right now,
shooting is.
But when Reeves
on the nights
shooting,
that they do.
Exactly. When Reeves is shooting like he was last night, they can compete with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you got to ask yourself, okay, how long can that hold up? Can they shoot like that every single night? But also, if the tournament starts tomorrow, Kentucky's probably a 6 or 7 seed, with this win streak. I don't know what he'd have them at, but they're the team that nobody wants to play because they can play with anybody. Now they can get beat by anybody on any given day. We've seen that happen, but they also, when they're playing well defensively and shooting even just decently well, it's not like they shot well in the second half against Tennessee. When they're just shooting decently well and playing really good defensively, they are dangerous.
Watson, here was let's take that down. We'll put it up there again here in a minute. Watson, I guess one of my disappointments, although I don't think it was going to matter, was Kentucky has a really nice spurt near the end of the half to go up 9. Stackhouse has got to understand that if it gets to 13 or 14, man, he has got to call the timeout and stop it right then. And instead, he waits until it's 18. And I know where that comes from. It's this Carolina, the Dean Smith, we don't call timeout because we invented basketball and we're better than everybody. And it's such a bunch of crap because this ain't Carolina. This is Vandy. And their margin for error is so slim. And I just thought the timeout was the horse had already left the barn.
I don't disagree with that. Watching it myself, the question I asked Taylor yesterday is exactly what happened. I said, Kentucky to me is very athletic and very long, and they can walk out and cover these threes, and we can't dribble drive around them. And that's exactly what happened. We couldn't break them. And so we're taking shots. At Georgia, we got wide open shots and knocking them down everywhere. I'm telling you, when there's a hand in your face on a 3-point shot, it's a different world. And so I thought that was the difference in the game. I agree with you. When what team in the country has lost their starting and backup center? Vanderbilt's got to be the unluckiest bunch of dudes I have ever seen in basketball. I'd say, George, the last 2 or 3 years, starting with our great guard that tears his knee up, really before the season even starts back a few years.
Darius Garland.
And now he's a great player in the NBA. How do you lose Robbins and then the freshman both within a week of each other? That's where I think he's got to coach different. He's got to understand what he's got. They're not catch-upable without an inside guy, George. So he's got to try to keep the games close. So I think he's got to call timeouts. He's got to find ways to hang around better, and maybe they'll get hot and then get going. But I feel for them because you remember 2 weeks ago, and not many followed up with what I said. I said, I think Vanderbilt's pretty good. I think Vanderbilt could end up pretty good here This was after they beat Arkansas. And then I'll be dadgum if Robbins don't go down from that game.
It's a bad loss.
Happen in that game, and then the other kid goes down the next game. I mean, so now they're average Joes again. Their only chance is to play their hearts out. I saw where Stackhouse really got on them, said we didn't play hard. Man, I just
Watson, what do you think
like
about that?
coaching that way. That don't mean it's right or wrong. I'm not saying that, but I never wanted to get on my players in public. I just don't. Man, you get behind closed doors, but I don't like that, and I think that's hard to keep confidence when your players wake up the next morning and read what he says he didn't. Maybe he said it to you behind closed doors already. I don't know, but just reading that and knowing the public's reading that, I think that's hard. But that's me. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I can't claim that it's right by any means, but it's just the style I just don't like. It's more the NBA style. I think you're paying those guys. Of course, now the other guys are getting paid too, but I don't know. I just think it's still more of a job than it is on the college level. And I don't like that, but I agree with you. He's going to have to understand he can't lose control in the game because he's not capable of coming back if he does, because he's down in talent again.
Watson, I think you hit the nail on the head. It feels like a lot of deflection in a lot of those public post-game press conferences where, you don't hear a lot of this was on me. This was on me tonight. I need to coach better. Players need to play better, but I need to prepare them better. You don't ever hear that from Stat. It's always Studi and Wright. He gets personal and in public. So I can't imagine being a player. You check out the press conference, see the clippings, and he's calling you out after the game. I mean, maybe that's an NBA thing. You're right, Watson, but that doesn't fit with. I don't think it fits with college kids.
There's some do it. There's great coaches that have done it. I know that it's not my style, and I sure wouldn't have liked it as a player.
So
as a player, quickly, I would not.
Real quickly.
Yeah, we did lose you for a second.
We lost Watson there for a minute.
We got this.
George, I got a question for you, unless you want to go somewhere.
Well, I'm going to do this. They've got 3, and if you want to include Auburn in there, they've got 4 shots against elite teams at Memorial Gym, which used to be they'll knock down 1 or 2 of these because that gym was worth a lot. Alabama, double-digit loss. Kentucky felt even more double-digit than Alabama did. Tennessee comes up on February the 8th, Auburn later in the month. He needs one of these. They are somewhat better, but more and more with the loss of Robbins, they look like a 6-12 or a 7-11 in the league.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, George, is without Robbins, I mean, how hard is it going to be for Vandy? You talked about a couple days ago, maybe it might have been last week, the importance in the SEC tournament of not playing that first night, being in the 10-14 spot. And I think Vandy right now, I think going into last night, they were at 7. Without Robbins, do you feel like they can stay above water for long enough to stay out of that game? Do you feel like they're good enough?
I think they're going to stay out of that game, and that's about all they're going to do. Listen, right now, their level of progress is small.
Yeah.
I mean, this doesn't look or feel all that much better than it did when he got here. This is his 4th year, and the best thing that he's got going for him is that the fan base has decreased to the point that there's really not the complaining that a Jan Van Bredikoff caught or Kevin Stallings, for God's sakes, caught. I mean, there's really not – there's an apathy around this program, and he's benefiting from it.
Sure he is.
He really is.
We got a comment from Ken in the chat room saying Vandy needs shooters. I think part of that's right.
Oh, I think he's absolutely right. That used to be one of that school's biggest strengths. They'd go up into Kentucky. This may sound harsh, but they'd get some of Kentucky's leftovers who were damn good shooters.
Yeah.
And they don't have that.
That's how you beat teams that you shouldn't. I mean, I'm not saying you're gonna beat Kentucky, Tennessee, and Alabama now, right, every year. But that's how you beat one or two of them. And when you play them 6 times is when you can shoot the lights out of it. One or two nights you get hot, and there's nobody touching you those nights. So I think that's a great comment.
After the break, we'll get stat of the day, and then Marc McGee will join us. We'll talk about the Preds' big victory last night against Winnipeg and an upcoming tough one against New Jersey. Stay with us.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you. Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports. And then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general. Baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised, and of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back in, George Plaster Show. It's time for Stat of the Day, brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards in Shelbyville, Tennessee, 204 East Depot Street. They're open Tuesday through Friday, noon to 5, and also Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call at 931-492-4304. All right, let's see what Michael's got for us today. NFL. Since 2000, which NFC team has the most NFC championship game appearances?
Watson, what are you thinking?
Well, we know the Chiefs, the AFC, been there 5 straight times.
Yeah.
So
that would have been an easy answer if it was
that would
AFC.
have been an easy answer.
That's our consolation prize. It just doesn't work out.
Would it be
probably why it's not up there? It's why it was.
Wouldn't it be New England though if it was AFC?
Not recently. I mean, 5 in a row now.
I mean, since 2000.
I don't know that New England ever made it to 5 in a row, did they?
No,
it's not consecutive though. I mean,
they were there enough to.
Oh, it's not consecutive.
Tally some stuff.
Yeah, it's not consecutive. It's just.
Oh, it's not consecutive?
It's just most appearances since 2000.
Oh, okay.
Okay, then it probably would be the Patriots.
Yeah, it'd have to be New England.
Okay, Watson, let's you and I use our brain power and let's knock them dead. You ready?
Go for it, brother.
Okay, so I think we can eliminate the NFC East.
Yeah.
Dallas, Giants, Philly, Washington. I don't see it, although I could be wrong.
I bet it comes from the West. Is it Seattle? Is it
Green Bay?
Is it Green Bay and the other side? There's nobody else in the division with Green Bay it could be.
Right.
It's not the East. We're missing a division. The South. Let's see.
Tampa, Atlanta, New Orleans.
Atlanta was in it, but not enough. New Orleans might be the one out of that. So it'd be New Orleans, Green Bay, Seattle, or San Francisco, wouldn't you say?
I want to go Green Bay.
Final answer?
Watson, what do you think?
It's one of those four, I think. I don't know. Go for it.
It's always good when you narrow it to four.
You got to go for it.
25%
Probably
chance.
Seattle.
I think it's Green Bay.
Okay.
Oh, God. Are you serious?
This surprised me.
Yep.
7?
This since 2000.
It's kind of shocking.
And
7?
Wouldn't have thought that.
Here's what's crazy. So Green Bay is at 6. And San Fran is at, I believe, 6 as well. And but San Fran and the Eagles have never played in the NFC title game. So there's your interesting second stat of the day.
The Eagles are 3-4 in NFC Championship.
George, that's probably right, because Andy Reid would have been there during that time. Right?
Well, now, hold on a second.
And since 2000,
Hold on. I think we're about to dust whoever put this question together, because I am reading.
Have just fact checked.
The Eagles are 3-4 in NFC Championship games, beating the Cowboys at home in 1980. Oh, no. We're not accepting that we are wrong. We're going to pull a Stackhouse here. We are not wrong. We are tied.
All right, here we go.
For the correct answer.
Here we go.
This is rare for Michael, though. I'll admit this hasn't happened very often.
This will get
no. We're at 7. Is that the debate? The Eagles don't have 7?
The Eagles are 3-4 in NFC Championship games, beating the Cowboys at home in 1980.
So does this NFC Championship appearance not count? Looky there.
Redo the question here.
Let's
we need some confirmation.
Which team has the most NFC Championship appearances? Watson?
Since 2000.
Are we not going to just act like this one doesn't count?
Not if it helps us. No.
Yeah. You just take a step back there.
Good
you just back
Michael.
off.
Yeah.
You just back off.
Good bounce
How
back.
long have you been here?
Long enough to get stat of the day right.
Oh, gosh. Watson, what do you think? You have any comment?
I think when you lose, bud. We just lost again.
I know. I think we need to go to Gee, and the quicker, the better. Look at Mark McGee with his blue.
I'm wearing blue
today. Yeah.
I took my yellow ones. I'm wearing blue today. So
yeah. So were you there last night at Bridgestone?
I watched on TV.
Okay.
Watched on TV. Good defensive effort, especially by Suros in the last 20 minutes. So that made a difference against Winnipeg. Winnipeg's always a thorn in the side for Nashville. So it was nice to see them come away with that 2-1 win. What was different was the Kings game. Of course, they had the big meeting before the game, and some people say it was a players only. Some people say it's coaches and players. But
this was after they got ripped in St. Louis.
Yeah. What appeared to be that people like Duchesne, Johansson, and some of the big guns were called out for whatever reasons. And of course, they all responded in the Kings game. But last night it was Terrence Janot gets his first goal since October, and Cody Glass, who scores against his hometown team. So, it wasn't the big guns last night, except for Suros, who is still playing lights out and is the reason they're still in things right now.
So the last 2 games have been really good for this team, and now they've got another tough one tomorrow night in New Jersey.
New Jersey,
they're all big. I realize that. It just feels like this one is huge.
Yeah. New Jersey's 18-2-2 on the road.
Right.
The joke today was that they're going to petition the NHL to let them play the rest of their games on the road the rest of the season and play all the playoff games on the road to get part of the gate.
So let's go through the graphic real quickly and show people where the Predators are. Colorado has made the jump that we all knew they would, and you've got to assume in the end Colorado's going to be there. They're not chopped liver. They're the defending Stanley Cup champions for a reason. So, Guy, how do they get into the 8 or the 7 in your mind?
Well, you've got a lot of good teams up in front. Edmonton's playing better than they played all season. Jack Campbell's found his way around the goal for them, which was their weak spot, and they've always been able to score. Edmonton's really one of the hard teams right now. Seattle has been strong, so they're not going to pass either one of them, I don't think. Calgary has been up and down. Calgary's a possibility. They've been inconsistent. Unlike you, Colorado is making an upper climb right now. Minnesota could be vulnerable. They've got a chance, but last week I was pretty positive maybe they might make the top 8, but I'm not so sure right now. I don't know if they make the top 8. I mean, even though they've had a couple of good games, and hope the New Jersey game is another big win for them. I'll be at that game Thursday night, and but hopefully that will be a big win for them as well. So, but they are playing better. But I just don't know if it's enough. I was looking through their schedule of the day. They've got a lot of losses that they are shaking their heads at, I'm sure, that they didn't need to have, and that's hurt them a little bit as well. Like I said, I thought they played better defensively last night. Penalties not quite as bad. But against Los Angeles, they made so many stupid penalties again. Delay a game, tripping, stuff like. I mean, it's just those are just stupid penalties, and they make too many of those. Last night they seemed to be a bit more disciplined, but that seems to be a consistent thing for them from that standpoint. So they are getting more offensive push. Their offensive output has been stronger as far as shots on goal and number of shots they're taking. So that's a positive. So that's increasing. Do they have enough gas to jump up there and maybe take Calgary out of the picture, maybe take Minnesota out? I don't know. St. Louis is a big question mark too. They're not playing well at all right now. They've had some injuries and some things go on, but the Blues are usually right there, and they're struggling right now.
Watson, say hello to Guy.
Hey, Guy, you look nice today. You look nice today in your blue, bud. We're all three dressed in blue here.
Yeah, well, he probably breaks out a Predators shirt after they win 2 big games.
Oh, that's George. You got to understand that.
4 home wins in a row and 2 big games, 2 back-to-back wins, and he's got his Predators shirt on.
He is the best front runner I've ever seen in my life.
That's all
I'm telling you, I say it all the time. I've been around a lot of people in my time. He is the best front runner I've ever been around.
You got to appreciate them.
Got to understand what you got.
That's true. That's true.
When it's time to jump on a bandwagon now, he can do that with the best.
Really?
Oh, he can.
The best you can come with.
Well, they
Did we just turn him off?
Turned him off.
Oh, Watson's gone.
He was about to blast away at me.
Wow. Billy, I was going to congratulate you for not putting up the team that was out of the picture today.
Yeah, I did that. I did that as a favor,
Vancouver.
God
bless Vancouver.
Vancouver team down there from that standpoint. The big question right now for Nashville is whether or not, and you know this, we both sit in the stands and listen to fans and talk to fans. Do you limp along hoping to get that ace spot? And there was a big discussion with the commissioner, with Gary Bettman yesterday from some at a press conference that about teams tanking. And I don't think NHL players or coaches want to lose on purpose, but you've got a couple of good players. Connor Bedard, who tore up the junior tournament, this World Juniors early in December, and Adam Fantilli are 2 of the top players. And Connor Bedard is a generational player, and a lot of people are going to be after him. So you put yourself in a spot to have a lottery chance at him, or what do you do from that standpoint? You trade Matthias Ekholm? That doesn't go away. People are thinking the Oilers Edmonton might go after him. New York Rangers might go after him. So those are 2 teams that are looking at him possibly. Also the Colorado Avalanche maybe might go after him as well. So what happens there, I don't know. But I think even the Los Angeles Kings have been looking at him possibly. So what
stop,
happened there?
Stop there because Norman Vincent Brown is back with us.
Watson's back with us. So do you trade for prospects? Because Ekholm will be popular. He's a top 4 defenseman. He's a big guy. He's a good two-way player. I'd say you trade him away and maybe get some prospects to look for next year and hope to be in that. And like I said, you don't want to tank. You don't want to go. No team wants to do that. But how hard do you cheer for your team if you got a chance to maybe get one of those big time draft picks?
Norman, what do you got for Guy?
Norman Vincent POR. Guy, this time a year ago, we worried about Soros not getting enough rest. I don't want to put you on the spot. Are we headed in that direction again, or I worry about the same because I think he really got tired, and he did not play well at the end of the season. Right
now, he's playing about as best well as he's played. He had a slow start to the season this year, so he's playing a lot better. He is the reason they are where they're even considered to be part of the playoff race. I mean, that's the main player. It's hard to point to one player in an NHL team, but I mean, he's obviously the player. That's the reason the Predators are where they are. How long can you do that? Lankinen is a really respectable backup. They might want to look at him more against some lesser teams to keep Saros as healthy as possible. But right now, I don't know. It's I think they are playing them quite a bit. And they've got kind of murderer's row that's come up here. And I think when they get back from the All-Star break, is going to be the Las Vegas Knights at home.
Well, I worry about that because I know we hit on that hard last year. Every week, somebody would bring it up, and sure enough, it caught us. I mean, he did get tired at the end of the year. He did not play well in the playoffs and even down the stretch, and that's just not fair to him. So I hope we're keeping account on that and doing a better job with that this year than we did last. I can't tell it. It seems like he's out there every night, but I worry about it again, to be very honest.
Well, I think that they should be more positive and be able to use him. But you're trying to get points right now. And right now, Saros is your best chance to get points. But you got to have as many points as possible right now. All-Star break's coming up. It's kind of a chance for everybody to get a breather, get a little rest, except people that are in the All-Star game. I think Saros is in the All-Star game. And how much rest will they get during that time? But, he needs to they probably need to look at Lankin a little bit more down the stretch here, especially if they're thinking they're going to the playoffs, because I think that's the reason Saros was hurt a little bit toward the end of the year last year. He just wore, like you said, he just wore down.
Yeah. The important time for us, all these home games we've had, to get these wins, Guy. Do we have that week where the SEC championship games are going on and we're gone whole week? Yeah. That has killed us in recent years. We really are kind of in some momentum, and then we hit that stretch, and man, it was hard to catch up after that, Guy. We got that coming up again?
Yes.
So I worry about that. We need to get every one of these home games we can get before we hit that whole week on the road, man.
They were advertising tickets to that the other night in the game.
Yeah. Is that West Coast this year, or is it Canada? Where do we go? Again, I'm putting you on the spot. I know.
I'm not
Watson,
sure.
I've got it in front of me. At Florida, at Blackhawks, I think that's at Vancouver, at Arizona, at LA Kings, at Anaheim. That's a 6-gamer.
You got two games that could be a challenge there, and that's the Kings and the Florida Panthers. The rest of those games, they should win.
Yeah, but we haven't been. We're going to have to change our way. That
those
stretch is the last couple of years.
Well, those games are the games they have to win. The Kings are probably going to want revenge for the other night. And Florida Panthers have been they're not what they were last year, but they are getting better as well. And that's a very competitive. Eastern Division is very competitive. I would say the Stanley Cup champion is going to come out of the Eastern Division. I wouldn't be surprised if they were in black and gold and have a Boston Bruins jersey on. They got 4 winnable games there. out of that group. So it's a spread out schedule. Florida to Chicago and the West Coast. That's a really.
Yeah, and I think Vancouver, of course, that's West Coast.
Up there, Vancouver and L.A. and Anaheim. That's a pretty tough. That's a tough travel schedule.
Yeah, very tough.
And it'll be interesting how that works out. But they've got winnable games there. They could possibly win all of them, but they've got 4 definite winnable games there.
A couple questions for you. This time of year, getting late. Obviously, hockey's extremely physical. How much is health a factor at this point of being able to stay healthy and guys that might be coming in? And I know in hockey you've got lines and kind of guys that you play with. When a guy's out because of health reasons or whatever it is, how much does that affect just chemistry of an offense, of a defense when they're out on the ice?
It's a chemistry issue, especially on offense, because you need to know where your line mates are, where they're going to be of a given situation. And if you got somebody new in there, it's hard to deal with that. That's one thing that John Hines gets criticized about. So he does a lot of line switching, not so much lately, but he does a lot of line switching. And that, how much chemistry can you develop with that? Ironically, you talk about that. The New Jersey Devils today at practice did a lot of line changing, a lot of line shifting around to try to get more physical, I guess, in preparation for tomorrow night's game. At least that's a speculation right now. So, so they did a little line tinkering around this morning in practice. So, I'll be interested to see what they bring out. They've got so much scoring depth. I don't think it matters. Their scoring depth is incredible. This is a team that last year couldn't do anything right, and a lot of people, they started out strong this year, and a lot of people thought, well, the reality is going to hit. Well, they had a little bit of a slow streak, which you're going to have an 82-game schedule, but they're back where they were at the start of the season and playing really well. But two things are always a problem. And right now, to be honest with you, if you played any kind of minutes NHL this stage, you've got an injury. You're hurting somewhere.
Yeah. Guy, talk to me about last year when the Predators got in the playoffs and had Colorado. It kind of felt like a foregone conclusion. This one's going to be in 4 and 5. But also, I know that the 8-1 and 7-2 upsets, it's not like those never happen in the NHL. If the Preds get in and are the 7 or 8, are there any matchups with the better teams that you like, that you say, I'm not saying we're going to go ahead and just win outright, but we could really challenge this team, take them to 6 or 7?
Oh, I don't know. I think that playing the Calgary, something like that would be probably a good chance for them. The Western Conference is pretty strong. I don't know if there's any weak sisters over there. So I don't know that I don't know in the Pacific who I would want to play against from that standpoint. The NHL's, the playoffs are a completely different season. I mean, you got the NHL season, and you got the playoff season. It's a completely different season. So teams that, it's just how teams respond to that, to the extra pressure and to the extra situation there. So I think that, there's no really in that group, the teams that are out there right now, I don't know that anyone I would say, okay, other than maybe Calgary, that I say, hey, let's play them in the first round. And that's just because Calgary's been so inconsistent.
Guy, appreciate it as always. See you tomorrow night.
I'll be there. I haven't seen you at the game lately, so I'm kind of near you, but not right there. So
you're in the higher rent district.
Not much higher.
I'm in the end zone.
I'm in section 3. I moved to the angle of the end zone this year. Section 315.
Okay. 304 says hello to you.
Sounds good. 315 is. I'm learning that group right now. It's a different group every night, seems like. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'll be there Thursday for sure. Good Lord willing, I'll be there.
You take care. Appreciate it.
Thank you, George.
Marc McGee joining us to talk Predators. After the break, we simply know him as LeBron. Whether we have the music in the background or not, this guy is putting some numbers up there that are staggering. We'll talk about it next.
I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is simple. I chose Hermitage Strike and Spare. They were amazing. Great food, great bowling, and a staff that's ready to go the extra mile. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5665.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Okay, you're not going to believe where I'm about to take this. But here goes. Watson, is the word Herculean or what did you say it?
Okay, preface it. I mean, you got to ask the question fair. Or Herculean.
Herculean is not a word.
Herculean or Herculean?
Herculean.
I like Billy's.
That was a Herculean effort.
Yes.
Or is it Herculean?
I don't say Herculean.
Nobody says Herculean.
Watson.
What are you asking?
Well, I believe that I have the proper pronunciation. Herculean.
I would think it's as close to the word Hercules as it could be. So I'd say that's it. I've heard it 1,000 times. That's a great word always used in sports. So
hey,
I've
Watson,
heard it all my life. It's not a new word to me. So.
Still wouldn't use it with the players, though.
Huh?
We still wouldn't use it with the players. That was just a great performance, is what we'd say.
Herculean.
Yeah. Too big.
Well, that's because some of you couldn't spell it.
It's fair. Or pronounce it, I guess.
Let's look that up.
Yeah, that's
Why
fair.
don't you do that? Okay, so here is a note that I wrote down earlier today because it's just staggering. LeBron had a big night last night. They didn't win. They were down 1 million to the Clippers and then rallied late, and he apparently had a big point total game. He is the first player in NBA history to score 40 points versus all 30 franchises. Think about that. Even Jordan didn't do it. So, Watson, I guess where I'm bringing this up a little bit is I have been steadfast for a long time. Jordan is number one, and I am not willing to listen to anybody tell me that LeBron is better than him. But I got to admit that I'm starting to soften a little bit because as he gets older, first of all, Father Time doesn't seem to have found him yet. And he's putting up some stuff. You know, he's a week and a half away from becoming the NBA's all-time points leader, surpassing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. This is some impressive stuff he's doing.
No, I mean, yeah, to say he's better than Michael, I don't know the answer to that. He's he can do more things than Michael could. I don't know that he does them better, but he can do more things. I mean, he has an inside game that Michael didn't really have. Michael could post you up. You and I remember Michael well, and he could post you up and shoot the fadeaway jumper or something, but he didn't really have an inside presence like LeBron does. The one thing I give LeBron credit for, I have a big positive, then I have a negative question I want to ask. But the one thing about him, when he wasn't good at something, he'd make himself good at it. He wasn't a good outside shooter. Then all of a sudden he makes himself a much better outside shooter. He didn't have an inside game. He didn't have one at all. And then he comes up with an inside game. I give the guy credit for that. He's got to have been an unbelievably hard worker, George, in the offseason, to be able to take the things that he knew and people would say about him that he wasn't good at, and, man, just turn it around just like that. So he has got to be in the top 5. I mean, who's the best player? I don't know. Michael and he are different players, in my opinion. Michael, much more of an outside guy that could work himself inside, and LeBron's much more of a 50-50 guy that can go either way. I just think they're different players. How do you say, is he a better player than Kareem, who he's just passed in number of points? They two different type players and did different things with them. So that's hard to me to come up with the best player, but there's no doubt he's one of the best of all time. Jeez.
So, Michael, I think one of the things that an older generation goes with Jordan for is 6 world titles.
No question.
And I think that's, those 6 before he, quote, retired, and then 3 more after he came back. I think that's one of the things that's frustrating LeBron right now is he knows this ragtag bunch in LA, they're not winning any world titles with this bunch.
Yeah, it's interesting, George, because LeBron is still putting up sickening numbers. I mean, it's just what he's able to do at his age. What is he, 39, I think? 39 years old, something right around there.
38, 39.
Yeah, 38, 39. And he is, at this point, I feel like you watch the Lakers because you just want to watch more of LeBron. Earlier in his career, and I'm not saying he's dipped necessarily, but, it felt like you could put the 4 of us with LeBron, and he'd find a way to the Eastern Conference Finals. That's not necessarily what you've got with the Lakers right now. I mean, really, it is a ragtag group, especially when Anthony Davis is out from an injury. But you've also got a younger NBA that's better. And so at this point, I think you're right. The titles feel like that's always one of the trump cards for the Jordan supporters over LeBron. I know that's got to bother him. I know that as cool of as an award as what he's going to get when he passes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I know he still wants titles. And he made that public. He said that in an interview a week or two ago. If he is wanting to play competitive for world championships. And so the tough thing is the Lakers, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. They're not going through the West like he used to be able to in the Eastern Conference. And that's how things have changed. And it's now where we kind of just sit back and we just get to say, man, he's an unbelievable talent. But when you look at where they're going, they're not going and beating Memphis, and they're not going and beating, a lot of these teams anymore. Denver when they're healthy. So it's that part has changed. But man, is it special to see a guy like that at 39 years old, just hadn't missed a beat. He just keeps on going, and he looks as good as ever. So anyway,
the age-old question is, how would LeBron have performed in Michael's era? Everybody likes to ask that, and I mean, I think it's a legit question. Would LeBron? He's a physical specimen.
Yeah.
So physically, I think he would have, but kind of that night in, night out beating from some of those defenses, George, the Pistons and the bad boy Pistons, some of those other defenses. I think that's a question we can ask.
I think it is, and I think that this, LeBron, he can drive me crazy, whining for some fouls. There's no doubt about it. But if you say one thing about LeBron, and Watson touched on it beautifully, which is that he has always been willing to adapt his game. That's something he's shown throughout his whole career. He couldn't shoot. Now he can shoot. He's done this with a bunch of different skill sets. And, I like to believe if he played back then that, there was no whining to the refs at that point. You just got drilled. It was a foul and you figured it out. And so, it can drive me crazy seeing him whine for calls, but I hope that he would have adapted the way that he has his game in this generation.
For the record, today they would not even get in the play-in game.
Really?
No, they are right now 13th. And so this has got to be frustrating. So Norman, you have a negative question?
Well, I have a throw out to let you all discuss, because
okay.
The first thing is, I think what really helped Michael was that time off. I think that time off gave him a mental break. That long NBA season after season after season, him going and doing the baseball thing for a while, I think was huge. And he got another break in that. We watched that was it HBO that had the series on about him. The owners, the GMs of everything of that team kept that team together. I mean, nobody else is able to do that. And they kept that team together. And so Michael walked right back into the same team pretty much that he was playing with. So I think advantage Michael in taking that time off, because you remember he lost his dad. I think he was mentally losing it. And he might have rode it out and not been that good down the stretch. And I think that time off helped him. The question I got is, these guys, especially when they get on these teams that aren't winning, you score a lot of points, but you're leading the league in number of shots.
Yeah.
I mean, where's the pass off there? He is a half a shot away from Luka Doncic right now, is the most shots in the league every night. Y'all score points if you're taking 23 shots a game. Think about that now. 23 shots a game. That's a lot of shots. And you can score pretty good points with 23 shots in a game. Where does that come into play in all of this? I just wonder about that scoring piece. I think gets overrated. I guess that's where I'm coming from, because the guys like him and Michael or Kareem, I don't remember. That's why I've always had Michael Magic in my top 5, because Magic could do everything. He didn't beat you with shooting every night, and he didn't take all those shots. Matter of fact, he'd finish games with 10, 12 shots sometimes. And I just sometimes I think we overdo the scoring when you're taking that many shots compared to other people in the league.
Well, and I think the team aspect in the NBA has sort of gone away too. I mean, back in the day, that Bulls team, they were a team. I mean, how many there's good teams in today's day and age, but the way they played together, I mean, Michael wanted to come back. I mean, he wanted to be a part of that team again. So I just think there's so much isolation ball. There's so much, I need to get mine. I need to go out and get 50 tonight. I don't care about what anybody else does. And this season, you're seeing 50, 60-point games all over the place, almost every night. So the defense is totally different right now, is what I would say. I mean, they actually played defense back in the day when Michael played, and slowly but surely the NBA has turned into this offensive game where you're reaching into the 140s and 150s, most nights. So
in fairness,
I bring this up, George, because I'm seeing that the top scorers of all time, and LeBron's passed it, and Pettit was one of those. George Michael was one. They didn't take the number of shots to get to the points that everybody's getting to in today's world. And I wonder if is there a difference in that? What do y'all feel about that? I'm not putting LeBron down now. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about a philosophy of, should it matter that if you're taking that many more shots than everybody, that we downplay it slightly here?
Maybe, but the two guys you brought up, and in particular, if Anthony Davis is not around to help LeBron.
Yes.
Luka in Dallas has had really suspect groups around him where he's had to do it all. And now that, it's funny, Anthony Davis coming back apparently tonight or tomorrow night. And when he's been gone, they haven't got much.
Yeah, I think you're right. And Watson, I understand that's not what you're saying. You're not asking. I get what you're saying, how you're not saying that they should be taking that many shots.
No,
at least it doesn't seem like that. That's not how I misinterpret it. Because when you watch, I mean, I'm a Mavs fan. shoot, I want him shooting the ball 25 times. I don't want anybody else shooting it more than 10.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when you take that many shots, should we downplay it slightly that you're scoring that many points?
Sure. I mean, I think it's a fair question.
Kevin Durant goes out every night and takes that many shots. He's going to score that many points.
It'd be interesting to have the
that many shots. He's going to score that many points.
It'd be interesting to have the stat because you never see it. Points per shot.
Sure. Or efficiency. Same thing.
Yeah.
Efficiency. I think that's got to play into it. I don't care if you go 8 for 29. I mean, you're hurting your team, obviously. So it's got to be, you got to play efficiency into it. There's no doubt about it, Watson.
LeBron James shot 55% from the field, 64% from 3 last night, 46 points. I'm trying to see how many shots he attempted. I'm not seeing it, but
yeah, it's not up there.
But I mean, they put up how many points? They lost the game. Like the Lakers lost that game.
Oh, they got clobbered.
But LeBron had 46.
Yeah.
So that's I think what it's coming down to. You can put up 50 or 40, but your teams might lose still.
Well, shame on the Lakers that they really have not addressed the issues. Now, it has not helped them. Anthony Davis has been hurt throughout LeBron's time in Los Angeles, and that's a shame. But the surrounding cast is a square peg in a round hole.
Well, I think we've also got to be fair, and this is where LeBron can accept some criticism here. He was the one that was advocating for Russell Westbrook to come. He was. And that has hamstrung. Is that right? Hamstrung?
Yes.
Yeah. We're getting into vocabulary.
It's a Herculean word.
Yeah. But that has hamstrung the general manager. I mean, Russell Westbrook has got a gigantic contract that somebody LeBron wanted to play with. And so LeBron can only do so much looking around when some of that was him.
Okay. We'll go to the break on that. Just a little food for thought. And when we come back, it's Plaster Bet of the Day. My self-esteem, a little better than yesterday. Couldn't have gotten any lower.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you. Attention Vanderbilt fans, the Nashville Predators are continuing their College Night series, and Vanderbilt Night is Thursday, January the 26th. Students, alumni, and fans are invited to celebrate. College Night series ticket packages include a Predators game ticket and a limited edition co-branded hat. Tickets can be purchased at NashvillePredators.com/College Nights. Anchor down.
Welcome back in. Final segment on this Wednesday afternoon. We got Plaster's Bet of the Day coming up. After some NBA talk, it's Bart Durham Injury Law. They are the sponsor. They're lawyers that you can trust. Give them a call at 615-242-9000. That's 615-242-9000. Or log on to bartdurham.com. All right, let's check out what happened last night. George teased it. TCU was able to bounce back and get the win last night. 3 games above 500. I guess that's how you say it. 3 wins above 500 for George. So TCU, did you watch that last night, George?
No.
It was never in question. Never in question.
It was a blowout.
TCU is really good. I think if I was going to give you 5 of the most underrated teams in America on the college basketball level, TCU's one of them.
Jamie Dixon.
They've gone to Baylor and won. They beat the crap out of Kansas at Fog Allen a few days ago. They are for real.
Yep.
I don't know. They've lost some games that don't make any sense to me, but I know when they are right, nobody in their right mind wants to play them.
Who do they play in the SEC?
I don't know. I need to look that up.
Yeah.
Anyway, Oklahoma, it's a program that's fallen apart this year, to be honest.
They'd be a dud.
They are one of the real duds right now. You know, for a program that's used to being pretty good. Oklahoma State beat them a week ago by about 20 in the Bedlam series. So there's some issues going on with Oklahoma.
There's also some issues in the SEC right now, George. I know that's where you're heading tonight.
Yes, I am. Watson, I want you to listen closely on this one.
I'm listening unbelievably close.
I can tell. I'm taking Auburn at home minus the 4.5 against A&M. These are totally contrasting styles. A&M wants to play the game. Winner, first one to 60 wins. They want to get in your face and play D. Auburn wants to run. They want to this. They, carnival, Bruce Pearl kind of stuff. And at home, Auburn has been really hard to beat. If Auburn wins the game, they're going to win it by more than 4.5. It's just what I think.
I had to tell you, right. Have you ever been to the Auburn gym?
Haven't been to the new one.
You need to go. It's neat.
Pretty cool.
And yeah, it's cool and it's loud.
Oh, it's very loud.
It's they built it to where it's a really loud place. And compared to that old one where they had that screen up in the end, the curtain up in the end, George, and
they had the brick.
Oh, that thing was awful. But they've done a really good job. And you did see last night, you had the perfect one because they honored the TCU football team last night.
Oh, wow.
Before the game. So the place was absolutely packed. I mean, and in a frenzy over the year that the football team had, and Oklahoma had no shot. None. Zero.
It's interesting just from just thinking about how that would play out, Auburn style versus A&M. Auburn's run fast. That's exactly what gets the crowd going. I mean, you can see why that place can get rocking. They can probably go on 15-2 runs like that. But then A&M, that's the perfect thing to take on the road to slow somebody down and, honestly bore the fans out of the game. And it's just interesting. I like the pick.
These are 2 really different styles.
Yeah.
On TV, that's one of the better places to watch a game at Auburn.
because
when
they're
the
right
students
on top
are
of
right
you.
on top of you. It's a great venue.
Watson, be watching tonight.
I can't wait, George. I'll be watching that whole game.
Absolutely.
I will.
Is this one at 6?
I don't know.
I made the graphic for these. These are tonight's SEC games.
Okay, that's good. Let's put that up there. Tennessee is a big double-digit favorite at home against Georgia. Florida's a big double-digit. South Carolina is dreadful. How in the world did they beat Kentucky?
282 in Ken Pom right now.
Mississippi State and Alabama, as Watson knows, separated by about 80 miles. Normally, this is a really tough, tight rivalry kind of game. I don't know if Mississippi State's got the punch. Hang
on the road.
What's that trip, Watson? 45 minutes, hour?
Oh, yeah, about an hour.
About an hour.
We'd stay in Columbus when we played them at Mississippi State, and we'd go to Tuscaloosa. You're not 35, 40 minutes from the stadium in Columbus, Mississippi.
And then the 8 o'clock game is Texas A&M at Auburn. Okay, tomorrow on the show, we'll go to Dallas and talk a little cowpokes. Did you like that?
I did.
Yeah. We'll find out what really is going on down there. Jerry has gone into hiding. He's not doing his radio interview. I don't know if he's clinically depressed. Who knows what's going on?
Maybe he's hanging him up.
But no, we can guarantee that's not happening. But all of a sudden, he's not talking, and everybody's like, oh, what does that mean for McCarthy? McCarthy's probably going, what does this mean for me? We're going to try to find out some of that. And then Lee Fowler and Ron Bargatze will join us during the 3 o'clock hour, College Basketball Insiders. So we'll have a good show tomorrow. Thanks for being with us. See you tomorrow.